I just did this entire video and the audio did not record. So I'm a little bit annoyed, but I really want to get this video up. So take two and hopefully things go well. Que pasa YouTube, aka what's up YouTube? Welcome to week number 9 of the second season of the MBC. We're taking on A12. Now, as you can see, this video is not from my perspective. Actually, I'm not even going to cover this video. I will explain why at the end of this video, or near the end of this video, because this video is this battle and a recap of our regular season, because I wanted to do a recap mid-season but just was too busy and then this game happened. So if anything, go check out our opponent for this week. A12 is channel link down below if you guys want to see his side of the battle, and I'll touch on this matchup as I go into more depth, because I'm going to go over each week of the season, which I'll leave a playlist of the season down in the description if you guys want to watch the battles and see exactly what happened and why certain things happened that I explain. So if you guys do enjoy this, then make sure to leave a like and leave a comment down below letting me know what you guys have thought of our season so far. Now, we did have a bit of a rocky start to this season, as here is our initial week 1 matchup and the initial draft that we had going into the season, which I thought was pretty solid. Obviously, it had its flaws and they will show as the season goes, but this was our first matchup against an opponent that we had never faced before in Gunko. All of our opponents' links will be down in the description, so definitely check them out if you guys want to go ahead and do so. And going into this matchup, she had very scary offensive threats in Iron Valiant, Garchomp, and Terra Iron Moth, which is insane. That mon is pretty cool. I definitely want to try it out in the future. But the biggest problem was this freaking bird right here, Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz was the biggest problem going into this game, and I honestly think the main reason why we lost, because I just had no way of hitting it hard enough, and then it was able to come in, get a wish, and at that point the match just kind of went downhill. Also, this was a game where I really think I just over prepped, I overthought everything, I overanalyzed things, and that kind of came back to bite us, because if I had just not changed 1 or 2 things, then this match I think could have gone entirely differently, and then we might have been able to win. But also, it's week 1. I get the week 1 jitters. Most of us get the week 1 jitters, I think. And losing week 1 does not mean the death sentence for the remainder of the season. So we did lose week 1, and hopefully we would be able to bounce back in week 2. Going into week 2, we face somebody else that we've never played before, that I've never faced before, and that is Daria. She has arguably the most broken Pokemon in Draft League format in a Dragapult. Recently, there are a couple Draft Leagues that have been banning it, whether Terra is allowed or not. Now, not Terra Dragapult, because no, don't ever do that. But base Dragapult is just insanely broken. She had very scary Terra captains in Quackable and Frostmoth, which I didn't even expect Frostmoth in this game. Honestly, I believe I went into this matchup figuring that I could just get up hazards and click buttons and hopefully do damage, and the one thing I completely overlooked was the mon that ended up beating me, and that of course was Terra Frostmoth. Now, arguably I could have played a little better around it and maybe things could have gone differently, but at the same time this kind of had the same effect, I think, as week 1, where I just overthought things and I overanalyzed, and if I had just kept 1 or 2 things, then maybe things would have gone differently. So unfortunately, after this week 2 loss, I was like, okay, maybe I do need to make some changes to the draft, because initially I knew the draft was a little too passive, but I was going to try and be optimistic and try and make things work. Unfortunately, it just did not sit right with me as I looked at the rest of our season. And luckily, before week 3 started, our week 3 opponent ended up dropping Iron Boulder, which they had picked, but I guess it wasn't doing good enough for them in the first 2 weeks. So they dropped Iron Boulder, And after discussing it with the front office homies, mainly Harris and Shuckle King, I was like, okay, Iron Boulder, Terra Iron Boulder apparently is just really, really great. It's an amazing Terra. I'm just going to go ahead and pick it up. So we dropped Tornadus T, Cinccino, and Terra on Sinistcha, along with dropping Magneton and Clefairy, and we picked up Terra Iron Boulder, Terra Rotom Fan, which was kind of a poor man's Terra Kilowattrel, and Incineroar, as well as Terra Morgrem, Morgrem? I mean, honestly, I did have Morgrem on some builds of my teams in this season, so I wouldn't say it was entirely useless. It was just a 1-point mon, honestly. So yeah, the main pickups though were Iron Boulder, Rotom Fan with Terra Iron Boulder, and then Incineroar. So yeah, we ended up changing a lot about the squad, and I think gaining some good additions, in my opinion. We got an amazing Terra captain instead of two mildly to good Terra captains, and honestly, base Sinistcha, in my opinion, is still just really amazing. Without Terra, it's still just a great Pokemon. So this matchup was the game where I was like, all right, we gotta bounce back. We're starting the season 0-2. It's week 3, third time's a charm. We can get a dub here and get back on the board. Now, a big problem that I know I made in this game was that I just overthought my plays. I really did get into my own head, and I think that is why ultimately I lost this battle, because realistically, Iron Boulder absolutely won this game. Iron Boulder would have been able to carry us to victory, putting us on board and at least starting the season 1 and 2. Unfortunately, again, I got in my head, I prepped properly, I think I mocked properly as well, but just execution-wise, this match was just really bad for us, and we ended up losing. And now heading into week 4, we are sitting at 0-3. I do not remember the last time I ever started the season 0-3. I think maybe one time. Funnily enough, I think that was a 8th gen league that I ended up winning. We'll say it was 0-3, and then we just won out the season. So hey, maybe history repeats itself, right? History repeats itself. I can't speak English. So yeah, we lost week 3 after making these trades that I thought were going to be very beneficial to us. But going into week 4, I really had to sit down and think, okay, I can't let the jitters get to me. We're off to a really bad start. Week 4, we 110% need to lock in and get the victory. We're facing somebody again that I have never played before in Elfowl. He, I believe, has done pretty well in showdown leagues. I think a bit of these coaches have done well in showdown leagues, or at least I've heard of them before playing showdown. So I think Elfowl was one of them. I'm not entirely too sure off the top of my head, but going into this game, it was going to be really tough because he had a scary combination of offense in Spectrier, Sneasler, and Terra Excadrill, which is insane. Terra Excadrill was definitely a giant problem, as well as other great Pokemon and a Glalie. So this matchup was definitely weird. This was the one game where I was like, okay, I need to try something different because he did have really good offense into us. And that was me trying out Screen's offense with Deoxys Speed. Luckily, we were able to pull out the victory this week. And the thing, though, about this matchup was that my game plan did not really go accordingly whatsoever. He ended up having Brick Break on Tyranitar, which was a great bring on his end. And then just the way the game played out, I didn't really get up screens too much in the initial game, and then the end game was a little bit odd. Luckily though, Iron Boulder this time definitely did pull through because I didn't overthink things, and I was able to position myself to where Boulder was able to win us the victory. So at the end of week 4, we are on the board. We are 1-3 heading into the midway point of the season. And week 5, we ended up taking on another person I've never played before in Frosty Random, which had made a bunch of transactions, I believe, heading into week 4. So his team completely changed, obviously, to this in week 5. And he had one mon that I severely underestimated, and that was freaking Terra Low Kicks. We know Terra Low Kicks already has Tinted Lens and hits hard, but with Terra, This thing is absolutely insane, man. It was doing so much damage. Also, I hate Petrarunt. I never ever want to face Petrarunt again as long as I play this format, or it's allowed in whatever format that I'm playing in. I hate Petrarunt. Its ability is insane. Malignant Chain with its ability is insane. I just absolutely hate it. Luckily though, Sinistral proved its absolute worth as a monster of a Pokemon, and it was able to win us the victory here for week number 5. So now we're at 2 and 3 heading into week 6, and week 6 honestly was probably the toughest matchup that we have had up to this point in the season. I knew going into this matchup prior to us prepping for the game that this was going to be absolutely tough for us, because Ellie had one Mon I had really overlooked, and that was Terra Mew. Now initially I thought Terra Mew, it's a good Terra, right? Like, it's a Mew, it learns a bunch of moves, it has 100 base stats across the board, that's pretty good. But I severely underestimated just how much of a threat this thing was. In prep and in mocks, it was a giant problem. Not to mention that she had an absolutely broken offensive core of Gouging Fire plus Greninja. Even with its abilities being nerfed, Greninja's speed and offensive prowess was a giant problem. And then Gouging Fire, I would argue that Gouging Fire should probably be banned in Draft League format. That thing is insanely bulky, it hits insanely hard, and we all know how good in 6th gen Mega Charizard X was, and that was without an item. In Gen 9, this thing can run items. Dragon plus fire typing with its bulk and reliable recovery in Morning Sun. Gouging Fire is a giant issue. I don't care who you are, that thing is a problem. It can easily snowball and win games by itself. So yeah, those 3 mons were such a problem going into this matchup. Luckily though, the combination of Iron Boulder and Sinistral were able to win us the game. This is just really bad quality, I apologize. But yeah, Iron Boulder plus Sinistral, a deadly combination that was able to get us the victory here. She brought some really good prep too in this matchup. Luckily, the toughest game that we had to play, we were able to pull out. And then going into week number 7, we were now sitting at 3 and 3. The playoff dream is still alive at this point. We started 0 and 3, we win 3 victories straight, so now we're sitting at 3 and 3, still having a shot to make it to the playoffs. So week number 7, we are facing Indomitable Will, one of the commissioners. I forgot to mention Gray was also a co-commissioner, but I believe Will is the main commissioner of the MBC. So going into this game, this was way worse than I had initially expected. So pause this video, take like 3 minutes, not even 5 minutes, don't even take like 3 minutes. Look at his offense and then look at our draft. This was an absolutely horrendous matchup offensively. I knew that I had to try and think of some type of way to win this game. Luckily though, Iron Boulder absolutely bodied him, but the problem with that is that I need to find a way to win with Iron Boulder. Also, Terra Ogerpon having a free choice scarf is insanely great depending on the specific set that he wanted to run against me. Also, Great Tusk, arguably one of the best Draft League Pokemon, easily top 3 I think. I would say Gouging Fire is just slightly above Great Tusk, because Great Tusk is a great supporting pick, while Gouging Fire is a great just offensive pick. And I would just, honestly, I think Gouging Fire probably has good merit to be banned in Draft League format. Great Tusk though, I think is very manageable. Regardless though, this game was super tough, and I really had to get a little creative with my build. So my initial plan going into this game was to try and get up hazards, hopefully get up screens, and then literally just put all my eggs in one basket in Iron Boulder, coming in, getting the booster energy, speed, and hopefully a Swords Dance, and then winning from there. Luckily, that is more or less what happened, and this is the match where Iron Boulder kind of solidified itself to me, where like, okay, this thing is a beast. If I knew what I know now of Iron Boulder when drafting happened, then I think I would have made a good conscious effort to draft this instead of Deoxys Speed, which unfortunately Deoxys Speed has been very, very lackluster. But it is what it is. I think I just kind of drafted poorly around Deoxys Speed, and I think maybe could have done a better job if we had got Iron Boulder. So yeah, week number 7, we win, and now we're positive. We're positive for the season. 3 losses, 4 victories. We're sitting at 4-3. We can still lose playoffs, and there's still 2 games in the regular season to go. So moving on to week number 8, this was kind of the opposite of week number 7, where my opponent had very scary offense even into us, and now in week 8 our opponent has very good bulk into us. Look at Mackey's team. Again, another person we've never played before. They had a very defensive team, along with the very scary combination of Terapagos plus Iamwombo. If you guys follow me for BBR, you will know I absolutely love Terapagos, and Iamwombo just never dies. That thing is so ridiculously bulky, as well as having a pretty cool Terra Captain and Terra Skeledirge, which was a lot more problematic than I initially thought it would be, depending on the Terra, just because it's really bulky. Then with Underwear, it's even harder to take down because it ignores stat boost. She also had really annoying mons in Raging Bolt, Landorus, and Meowscarada. So the cool thing about this matchup though was that we were able to finally bring a Choice Banded Terra Rock Iron Boulder. This could just come in, click it, stab, and absolutely murder something. That kind of more or less is what happened, but the main star of the show, I believe, was Incineroar being able to just kind of deal with most of her bulk. So yeah, we were able to pull out the victory here in week number 8. The combination of Iron Boulder and Incineroar being Rest Talk and it just being really bulky was enough to pull us out the victory here, putting us at 5-3 heading into week number 9. Now the thing about week number 9 is that I believe there was like a slight possibility that we would not make playoffs, but that was only if we were 6-0'd, I believe. I think maybe we would have ended like number 5, whatever, like I think it was top 6 got into playoffs. Top 2 got a bye, and heading into week 9, we were sitting at number 3. So if we win week 9, we end the regular season number 3. Unfortunately, there's no way we end number 2 and get a bye along with the number 1 spot, because the number 1 spot had already been sealed, and then number 2 spot we couldn't win even with a 6-0 victory. So I figured we can at least settle for 3rd place, and as long as I don't get 6-0'd, then we're pretty much good to end the season 3rd overall and go from there, which brings me back to my initial start of the video, where it's week number 9 here as we're taking on A12. So going into this game, honestly, I was just kind of clicking buttons. My goal was to take down as many mons as I can, and then if I lose, I lose. It's not really that big of an issue. So if you guys do want to see my opponent's side of this game again, to definitely check that out down in the description below. So quick little spoilers for playoffs here, if you guys don't want to have any week 9 games spoiled or know what's going to happen in week playoffs, in round 1 of playoffs, or how the season ended, then yeah, just kind of skip this part, I suppose. But as you can see here, we ended the regular season 3rd overall, so that's pretty good. 1 and 2 got a bye week. Unfortunately, we didn't get that bye week. So for round 1, we are taking on Q, the Costa Rican, who ended in his division as number 6. So hopefully we don't get round 1 and we can win out and win a championship in Gen 9. We won a championship in Gen 6, in Gen 7, in Gen 8. Hopefully we can win one here in Gen 9 and just solidify that going into eventually whenever week 10 does come out. I'm competitive when it comes to this game. I really do want to get the victory and that championship this generation. So hopefully this will be the season that we do. And round 1 of playoffs will be going up next week for you guys to go check out. Of course, if you guys want to check out any of the coaches this season, their channel links and stuff are down below. And yeah, thank you guys for following me through the season. Again, let me know what you thought about our run so far. If you watched this video, then you're absolutely amazing. I love playing Pokemon. I really do. If I wasn't doing this, I would probably be a little bit bored. I know the quality of my videos have not been up to par as to how they have been in previous seasons and leagues that I've been in, but for those of you who have stuck with me, then thank you so much for doing so, and hopefully y'all can follow me to a Gen 9 championship. And with that being said, make sure to leave a like, leave a comment. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys all next week with round 1 of playoffs, and hopefully not the final round of playoffs. So yeah, later everybody.